Hi, welcome to Math as a Language. Today we continue one of our favorite topics having to do with geometry, or at least a concept, if you will. It's just fascinating how, when in our last video, we talked about the three undefined terms: the point, all right, the line, and the plane. Point, line, and plane. And how, with these three undefined terms, just a kind of a basic understanding of what these guys are, we kind of really, you build the whole precept and concept of the geometry. Not literally, but it's just kind of interesting the way this evolves. We know again that this point is understood to be a dot. We're going to make it a little bit larger just so that we can see it. But remember that it has no volume. And then these points, no dimensions at all. These points literally are lined up next to each other, and eventually they become the line. And always put arrows at the end of the line. Now realize that the line has one dimension, it has length, and then these lines are all stacked and meshed upon each other. Arrows at the end going in all directions, and for the most part, we want to represent the plane in this fashion. And the plane, of course, has two dimensions. It has a width and a length, but no thickness. There's no thickness to this plane. But at any rate, the point, line, and plane evolves in that fashion. Okay. Today we're going to spend a few minutes talking more about definitions and getting some clarifications about how we term some of these things. We can't say this point, this line, that line, plane, and so forth and on. So as math being the language that it is, terminology and definitions beyond these undefined terms is important. So we're going to take a look at some of those today. So let's say that we have a few points, and I'm going to make them a little bit somewhat large so that we can see them. So we have a point here, and we'll have to use some different colors so that we can see the points well enough. And I'm going to make them sizable. But again, remember that they have no dimensions, but it's absolutely necessary that we make them big enough so that we can see them here. So I have about 4 points listed here. Now, the main thing in geometry, in terms of labeling your points, I don't want to say this point, that point, and so forth. So more often than not, you would label your points in geometry with an uppercase letter, if you will. More often I would call it, that's point B, this would be point C, point F perhaps, in whatever letter you wish. Let's go with point V. All right. So in geometry, when we're labeling the points, we want to identify the points with uppercase letters. Point B, C, F, V. Those are the 4 points that are described there. Now these points, and again we're going to make this somewhat sizable, a line of enough width and enough thickness, if you will, so that we can see them. But beyond that, know that it has no dimension, it has only length. But we have this line, and then I'm going to make another line here. We have that line, all right, and of course we have a third line. Let's say we have this line. Okay, okay. Enough of this, that, and all of that. We need to label these things so that we can keep track of them. And when you're dealing with a line, you have a few choices. The easiest way, if you only have the single line sitting there and you want to label it, you can use a lowercase letter. Perhaps we can use L for line. This would be the line L. Now, of course, the line, we're getting a little bit into definitions now. Know that the lines, I'm going to make these points large enough so we can see them. But we know that this line has infinitely many points on it. Know that that's how we describe the line and made the line to begin with. So, but if we were to take any one of these 2 points, remember that we'll label the points with an uppercase letter. We'll have that as point C, and this one perhaps as point V. Not necessarily these same 2 points, but just to make the point, this precept concept clear. So you have infinitely many points on this line. If we were to label point C and point V, then obviously we can have this now become line VC. We can name this line according to its points. So we would have something like this. You would have to label it this way. This would be line VC, and you'd put this symbol above the point V and the point C. And yes, if you're wondering, absolutely, if you want to go ahead and put the C first and have it as CV, that would be fine. Know that that would be, of course, the same line. All right, so line CV or VC would both identify the same line. So right now we have a choice. We could have a single lowercase letter. We can use 2 points to label the line. And of course, the other thing that we can do in terms of labeling a line is to use a combination of these things, if you will. So in this particular case, if we have our line L here, we can call this guy line, let's say we already used L, so we can use this as line M. Or if we choose, again, we can put 2 points, any 2 points on the line, and there may be infinitely many points on the line. Let's say that we have 3 or more points here. We're going to go with the point P, point R, and point S, and we wanted to label this line. We don't need to use all 3 points, but any 2 points would do. And again, remember, the order of the letters is not significant, so if I want to label this as line SR, that would be fine. Know that it would still be the same line. Alright, so as far as labeling the lines, a single case letter, 2 uppercase points, or any 2 points or lowercase letter. Alright, let's go move on now to our plane, and we're going to make the plane distinctive so that we can see it as well. So we have this plane, and remember now, you can't, it's hard to depict this, but this plane goes on in infinitely many directions. Alright, so that this plane extends infinitely many directions, so it has 2 dimensions. It has a width and a length, if you will, and it goes on indefinitely. Alright, now let's see in terms of terminology and labeling this plane. We have a few choices here. Okay, let's see. The first thing we can do is, why don't we just go ahead and do this, we can just pick a point on the line, on the plane, making this sizable. We need to get these things so we can see them. So we're going to make it a good size. That's a point, a single point, and so we could just label that as, this could be plane P. So there's, again, a single letter anywhere on the plane, and you can just call this plane P. So we can just name this as plane. Alright, I know it's thick, but I want to keep it thick so that we can see this. Plane P. That would be one choice. Now another choice is, we can have, of course we know that this plane is made up of infinitely many points. So let's say we label these 4 points, and know that we label our points. Let's go with an A here. This is going to be point, I'll make it a little bit smaller so we can see this. Point B is there. Let's go with point D. That's D right there, and a point R. Alright, so we have 4 points in yellow, A, B, D, and R. Now, here's the thing. To label this point, you could use any 3 of these points. In order to name the point, name the plane, we should say, you need to have at least 3 points. So you must say, you can choose to say, this is plane. Let's go with plane. Now, it could be any 3 points. Let's go with A, B, R for that matter. So this could be plane A, B, R. That would be a choice in terms of labeling the plane. Now, well, let's just cut to the chase. Why not just use 2 points? We would not, again, we're going to go ahead and do it, but we would not want to do this, and I know you're bright, intuitive people out there, and why would we want to just say plane A, B? Well, here's the heart of it. Let's just cut to the chase. The reason why you don't want to use just 2 points is because, remember now, 2 points, and with these definitions will come, and corollaries will become more clear as we go through, in time, as we go through the geometry. If you only have 2 points, then that would define a line, all right? So in order for you to name the plane, if you're going to name the plane, you must use 3, and these 3 points must be non-collinear, 3 points that are not in a line. All right, because again, if we were to choose this point R, and point R clearly label is in line with A and B, then that still would not define the plane. All right, so we want 3 non-collinear points, never just 2 points, to describe or name the plane. So basically that's it. We're going to just stop here. Just a few definitions. It's really wonderful how this thing builds from the point, the line, and the plane, and the point became the line becomes the plane. Again, as the dimensions grow, that is to say, this guy has no dimension, he has 1 length only. This guy has 2, this figure has 2, width and length, if you will. And again, some of the labeling techniques that we would use, your points uppercase letters only. Lines, you can have a lowercase letter or any 2 points. The order doesn't matter. And when you get onto the plane, of course, you could use a single uppercase P in the corner there, or any 3 non-collinear points to describe the plane. All right. Again, it's fascinating stuff. We hope you continue with us as we continue to explore the wonderful world of geometry. Okay, see you next video. Take care.